Lin Ruochen never thought that one day he would fall directly from the broken sand in the dormitory into a completely unfamiliar world. That night, he stayed up late to read a fantasy novel, took a bottle of Kale in his hand, and was about to watch 2 more chapters before going to bed. As a result, the lights in the dormitory suddenly flashed for a few moments, and then a dazzling white light burst out from the book page, swallowing him up. When he opened his eyes again, what he greeted him was not the familiar dormitory ceiling, but a dense forest, with the air filled with the fishy smell of soil and grass leaves, and the roar of the wilderness around him. He was stunned for a few seconds, and looked down and saw that he was still wearing the white and gray sportswear, and even holding the bottle of unfinished coal in his hand. But the surrounding scene was so real. The soil under his feet was so soft that it could be made into marks. The leaves on the top were rustling by the wind. The sunlight came down from the tree, making his eyes sore. Where is it like dreaming here? It is clearly time travel? What's going on? Lin Ruochen couldn't help but say to himself, his voice suddenly in the empty forest. He pinched his arm and grinned in pain. After confirming that this was not illusion, he felt even more panicked. He is an ordinary college student who has never won many fights. Now that he is thrown into such a dangerous place at a glance, how to survive is a problem. Just as Usi was thinking, the bushes next to him suddenly shook, making a rustling sound. Lin Ruochen was shocked and quickly squatted down, hid behind a big tree, held his breath and glanced at him. The bushes were swept open and a big figure walked out. The guy was 2 meters tall, covered with gray-black hair, a pointed mouth like a wolf on his face, and holding a rough stone axe in both hands. His muscles were bulging like a hill. He was like a walking wilderness. Lin Ruochen's heartbeat was as fast as a drum, and there was only one thought in his brain: it's over, I've met a monster. He didn't even dare to show up, and he was tightly sticking his trees, his palms were covered in cold sweat. The monster seemed to have not noticed him, turned around and looked around, and his nose twitched for a few times, as if he was smelling something. Just when Lin Ruochen thought he could hide, the guy suddenly turned over, his yellow pupils locked his hiding place. Who is there? Come out. The monster opened his mouth, his voice as low as thunderbolt, carrying an unquestionable atmosphere. Lin Ruochen was stunned. Will this monster still say? But he didn't have time to think about it because the other party had already raised the stone axe and walked towards him with great strides. Don't come. I'm not mad. Lin Ruochen hurriedly jumped out from behind the tree, with his hands high, and the test showed that he was not a threat. But the guy didn't hear the pressure, and he rushed to him in a few steps. The stone axe was directly placed on his neck. The cold touch made Lin Ruochen tremble. Who are you? Why did you steal me? The other party growled, his voice full of enemies. Lin Ruochen saw clearly that although this guy looked like a wolf, his facial features were clearly characterized by humanity, especially his eyes, which were filled with a sense of vigilance and anger. His brain moved quickly and replied with a hard head, I was just passing by, lost. I really didn't want to steal you. I'm a traveler. Traveler? The other party narrowed his eyes, looked him up and down, his eyes stopped on the bottle of coal in his hand, and showed a puzzled expression. What are you doing? It doesn't look like a weapon. Lin Ruochen looked down and was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a place to diamond. This bottle of Kale looked particularly uncomfortably in this place. He smiled and said twice, and casually compiled a reason. This is, well, the specialty drinks in my country are nothing special. Do you want a drink? The guy clearly didn't believe it, but he still took the bottle, slapped it in front of his nose, then carefully opened the parchment and took a sip. The next second, his eyes suddenly widened, and a pop sound came out from his mouth, almost spraying the drink. What kind of thing? It's so sweet as a poisonous medicine. Lin Ruochen couldn't help laughing, and his tightness felt a little relieved. This is called Kale, just drink it. Who are you? Where is this? The other party wiped his mouth and gave him the bottle, and his temperament was a little calmer. My name is Carlo, the Wolf Clan warrior. This is the edge of Elsace forest. Are you going to have a human race here? This place is not safe, and there will be no magic at any time. Elsace's mainland? Lin Ruochen's heart sank. It turns out that it is not the world he is familiar with. He was about to ask a few more words when a low roar suddenly came from a distance, and the ground trembled slightly. Carlo's face changed and he quickly turned around, holding the stone axe tightly. No, it's the earth-toothed wolf. Hide quickly. Lin Ruochen had not reacted yet, and a huge wilderness appeared deep in the forest. The guy was bigger than Carlo, with sharp teeth, sharp claws as sharp as blades, and his eyes were filled with angry light, and he rushed towards them. Carlo roared and rushed forward. The stone axe slashed at the ground wolf's brain, making a deep and thumping sound. But the monster had a thick skin and a thick flesh. He was beaten and just shook it, and his mouth bit Carlo's shoulder. Lin Ruochen was so scared that his legs were soft, but seeing Carlo fight against the monster alone, another irresponsible urge broke out in his heart. He gritted his teeth and found a thick branch everywhere, shaking his thorns, slamming his lower leg on the ground wolf. But this time it was like a slap. The monster just shook his tail and flew him out, and fell to the ground and hummed in pain. Silly goods! Don't come! Carlo roared angrily, taking advantage of the distraction of the ground wolf. An axe slashed its neck, blood spurted out, and the monster let out a wail, and finally fell down. He gasped and turned over and stared at Lin Ruochen. Are you looking for death? You can't deal with this kind of demon. Lin Ruochen got up, rubbed his pained waist, and smiled embarrassedly. I just want to help you. Thank you, I saved my life. Carlo hummed, and said nothing more, but walked to the ground wolf's body, and began to cut off its claws and teeth with a knife, practicing as a knives. Lin Ruochen looked at this scene and felt a little confused. He knew that he was completely exhausted in this world, and even self-protection became a problem. But he had no choice but to follow Carlo with his head. At least this guy didn't look bad. Hey, what's your name? Carlo packed up the battle spoils and asked without looking back. Lin Ruochen. What about you? Just say you are a wolf warrior. This place, Elsa, what kind of world is it like? Lin Ruochen tried to ask, trying to learn more about it. Carlo stopped the work in his hand and turned over to look at him, as if he thought he was puzzled. Don't you even know this? Elsa is the statue of the 5 kingdoms. The vast land is full of magic and magicians, as well as those high-ranking magicians and nobles. If you don't have the ability, you can't live for 3 days. Magic? Lin Ruochen's eyes lit up, and the cool magic scenes in the novel appeared in his brain. He was about to ask again, when Carlo suddenly stood up and his face darkened again. Don't miss it. The momentary static is too big, which may attract more magic. Come with me and find a safe place to talk about it. Lin Ruochen clicked his head and followed Carlo through the forest. They walked for about half an hour and finally came to a stream where Carlo signaled to have a rest. Lin Ruochen was exhausted and panting. He sat on a stone. When he looked down, he realized that there was a thick book in his pocket at some point. The cover was dark red, the edges were a little worn, and there were some runes that he couldn't understand. What is this? He frowned and flipped open the book. There were blank pages inside, only the first page had a few lines of words, like some kind of mantra. He recited it out in his mouth. In my name, your power, the spirit of contract, now in this world. As the voice fell, a golden light suddenly appeared on the book page, and a strong wind rolled up around him, scaring him almost through the book out. Carlo was also stunned, jumped up suddenly, holding the tightly sharp axe. What have you fucked? Before Lin Ruochen could explain it, a huge magical ambus suddenly appeared on the ground, and a translucent bird rose from the middle. The feathers were like burning flames, and their eyes were flashing with the light of the blue. It made a sharp whistle, which made Lin Ruochen's ears buzz. This is a summoning beast? Carlo's eyes widened, his language filled with shock. Are you a summoning master? I don't know. Lin Ruochen was so panicked that he formed a group in his brain. But the giant bird didn't seem to attack them, but just spiraled on his head, as if waiting for an order. He tried to say to it, well, don't be upset, sit down. The giant bird actually heard it, landed on the open space beside him, looking at him with a low head, and an inexplicable approaching appeared in his eyes. Lin Ruochen was both afraid and excited in his heart. This thing looked quite terrible and might help him protect himself. But he didn't know how to control his pressure. What should he do if he lost control? At this moment, the forest of trees far away suddenly came with a rapid sound, followed by a cold sound. Who is using the collar without authorization? Lin Ruochen and Carlo turned around at the same time. Only one figure walked out of the tree shadow. It was a young woman with long silver hair flashing under the sun, and her icy blue eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Are you a magician? Carlo raised his eyebrows and slapped in front of Lin Ruochen, obviously full of rings for the visitor. The woman ignored Carlo and her eyes fell on Lin Ruochen, especially the book with a red cover. Her eyes became even more sharp, and her voice was as cold as ice. Where is that book from? Say. Lin Ruochen was so stressed that he couldn't speak, and his heart was irritated. This woman was not easy to mess with at first glance. For any plan she had for this book, she and Carlo would probably not be a match for her. He swallowed and replied with his head hard, I don't know either. This book, well, suddenly appeared on me. The woman was silent for a while, her eyes replayed between him and the giant bird, and finally lowered her staff. Her temperament slightly calmed down. I am Ellie, the magician of the Blue Tower. This forest is not safe, and your call-up waves may cause trouble. Follow me. I have a place to place you at any time. Carlo Ming didn't trust her and said to Lin Ruochen in a low voice, this woman has an unclear future, don't believe it easily. But Lin Ruochen looked at Ellie's blue eyes and inexplicably felt that she didn't look like a bad person. And now he is full of doubts. This book, this world, and his own abilities, and he urgently needs someone who can explain it. He hesitated for a moment and pointed, okay, we'll go with you. Ellie said nothing more and turned around and walked towards the deep forest. Lin Ruochen put away the book, and the giant bird turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the magical abyss. He and Carlo are both. After a glance, he followed Ellie's feet were a little heavy. Lin Ruochen was in his heart, curious about the so-called Blue Tower, and worried about whether he was too hasty and believed a stranger. Carlo kept lying on his face, holding the stone axe tightly in his hand, ready to face sudden situations at any time. They followed Ellie through the forest. The sun was gradually covered by the dense crowns, and the air was filled with a damp smell. Ellie walked in front, her steps were steady, and the bottom of her long robe shook lightly with her movements, as if she was completely uneasy about the two strangers behind her body. Lin Ruochen couldn't help but take a look at her for a few moments. The woman's aura was actually too strong, as if she was born to be awe-inspiring, but there was a hint of fatigue on her cold face, which made him a little unable to understand her real thoughts. Hey, are you fucking the Blue Tower? It sounds quite tall. Lin Ruochen tried to open his mouth, trying to break the awkward silence. Ellie didn't reply, his voice calmly as if he was telling the truth. The Blue Tower is the oldest magician organization in Elsace, specializing in studying and protecting elements. We do not belong to any kingdom, but only exist to maintain the balance of the mainland. It sounds like a kind of neutral force. Lin Ruochen muttered, and the images of those unknown masters in the novel appeared in his brain. He asked again, then why are you in this forest? Didn't you say that your status is very high? Why are you going to such dangerous places to fuck? Ally stopped this time, turned over and looked at him. A complex feeling flashed in the ice-blue eyes. I'm chasing some magical waves that shouldn't exist. Your call is just in line with my investigation direction. Lin Ruochen's heart skipped a beat, and he didn't think this was so simple. He subconsciously touched the red cover book in his pocket, and tried to cover up his anxiety. What's wrong with me calling this? Isn't it just a big bird? What's wrong with you? The problem is big. Ellie's verb became more serious. The summoning is one of the rarest and most dangerous magics in Elsace, and only a handful of people can truly master it. And your summoning waves carry a force that is so ancient that it is almost forgotten. This power should not appear in an outsider. Outsider? Lin Ruochen's heart beats faster and he tried to draw a picture silly. What does it mean? I'm just an ordinary traveler. Ellie didn't say anything anymore, but just looked at him deeply, as if he had seen through his responsibilities. She turned around and continued to walk forward, leaving a meaningful sentence. When you reach a safe place, you'd better give it a good explanation, otherwise I won't be able to guarantee your safety. Carlo hit Lin Ruochen's ear and said in a low voice, "This woman definitely knows what she wants, so we have to be careful. I always think she is not just trying to help." Lin Ruochen pointed his head and was also confused in his heart. But now they have no choice but to follow. After about an hour of walking, an old stone tower finally appeared in the forest. The tower was covered with moss and a large block was missing on the top, as if it had been through some fierce battle. Some broken magic runes were scattered around the tower, and there was a burnt smell in the air. "Is this the safe place you call it?" Ellie pushed open the wooden door of the stone tower and said without looking back, "This is just a temporary point. The real blue tower is in the north. There is a boundary protection here, and the magic and outsiders cannot come in, so you can rest for a night." Walking into the stone tower, it looks even simpler than the outside, with only a few broken wooden tables and piles of scattered books, and some dry grass in the corners of the wall, like temporary beds. Ellie swung her hand, and a blue light lit up on her staff, and several magic runes on the wall lit up, and a warm breath filled the entire tower, dissipating the chill from the outside. Lin Ruochen couldn't help but feel moved. This magic is quite convenient, much stronger than electric heating. What is electric heating? Ellie turned over, her eyebrows slightly brows. Obviously she didn't understand him. It's nothing, I'll say it." Lin Ruochen slapped his head and awkwardly, realizing that he was talking again. He quickly changed the topic. "What do you mean by ancient power? What is the problem with my call?" Ellie sat down, took out a piece of blue philosopher's stone from her long robe, and rubbed it lightly, like ensemble language. After a while, she opened her mouth. The summoning arts in Elsace originated in the ancient mythology era. At that time, the humans and spirits signed contracts to fight against the demons together. But as the demons were sealed, the summoning arts were gradually lost. There are almost no people who can summon the real spirits now. And you? She paused for a moment, and her eyes fell on him. The fire feather you summoned was one of the sacred beasts in mythology that guarded the seal. It should not be at all heard of a person without magical foundation. Fire feather? Keep the seal? Lin Ruochen heard a fog, but he felt that this matter could not be related to his time travel. He bit his lip and wondered whether to tell the truth. "But when I think that I know nothing about this world, what if I say the truth and be regarded as a monster?" Carlo was not so polite and directly interrupted. "Hey, magician, what do you want to fuck you after talking for a long time? If you suspect that we have a problem, just put your cards on it now and don't stumble." Ellie glanced at Carlo coldly, and her temperament was calm. "I didn't say you had a problem, I just wanted to figure out why this force appeared on him. Recently, there was a force that was acting in secret, trying to break the seal of the demon. If his call has something to do with that force, we all have to be careful." Demon god? Seal? Lin Ruochen was shocked, and the villain's traits appeared in his brain. He tried to ask, "Are you saying, what kind of big demon someone wants to release to destroy the evil?" Ellie pointed a little, her eyes became more serious. "Shadow Church, a group hidden behind the 5 kingdoms. They believe in the demon god and believe that as long as they resurrect it, they can reshape the order of the mainland. Recently, their activities have become more and more frequent, with many philosophers' stone mines being scattered, and some ancient devils being destroyed. I doubt that they are looking for keys to unseal the seal." Lin Ruochen was shocked when he heard this, and always felt that this matter could not be related to the book in his hand. He glanced down at his pocket, and the corners of the book were slightly exposed, as if they would shine at any time. He strongly decorated and asked, "What's the matter with me? I'm just an ordinary person and don't know anything." Ellie didn't answer directly, but stood up, walked to the wall inside the tower, and knocked her fingers a few times. A circle of magic square suddenly lit up on the wall, and then it cracked, revealing a hidden dark square. She took out a yellow map from it, opened it on the table. pointing to a mark above and said, "This is a recently discovered shadow cultivation point, not far from here. I originally planned to go and explore it alone, but since you have a call, maybe you can help." "Help?" Carlo sneered. "Are you fools? Why do you let us die with you in such a dangerous matter?" Ellie's eyes turned to Carlo, and there was an unquestionable sense of pressure in her voice. "Because you don't choose. This forest has been targeted by the people of the Shadow Cult, and your call has been exposed long ago. If you don't take the initiative to strike, you will be caught by them." Lin Ruochen's heart sank, knowing that Ellie said it was right. He and Carlo have no foundation in this world, and even self-protection is a problem, let alone any shadow cult to fight against. "But if you really follow me, what should you do if you encounter danger?" He hesitated for a moment and asked Carlo in a low voice, "What do you think? Are we really going with her?" Carlo curled his lips, obviously unwilling to do so, but he still said in a low voice, "Although this woman doesn't like it, she has to make sense. We are lonely now and can't hide all the time. It's better to go and see, at least we can figure out who the enemy is." Lin Ruochen clicked a little and turned to Ellie. "Okay, we'll go with you. But let's talk first. If the situation is wrong, we can withdraw at any time." Ellie pointed slightly and agreed. She put away the map and began to prepare some necessary magic props, and still recited the mantra in her mouth, as if she was laying out some protection zone. Lin Ruochen looked at her familiar movements and was both impressed and nervous. He knew that this trip would never be simple, but maybe it was an opportunity to make him figure out why he came to this world. The next morning, the three of them cleaned up briefly and then set off to the marking point on the map. The place is located in a swamp deep in the forest, surrounded by mist, which is extremely low in sight, and there is a rotten smell in the air. Ellie walked in front, with a faint blue light radiating from her staff, like some kind of magic to explore the way. Carlo followed her tightly, holding the stone axe tightly, ready to face the sudden situation at any time. Lin Ruochen fell to the back, holding the book with a red cover in his hand, silently chanting the mantra he learned yesterday in his heart, for fear that he would be busy and troubled. "This place is really magnificent," Lin Ruochen muttered in a low voice, stepping on the moist muddy ground under his feet, and almost slipped. He looked up and saw that there were about a few broken stone pillars deep in the swamp, filled with strange runes, like the slaying of some kind of sacrificial bones. "Don't make a sound." Ellie suddenly stopped and made a move to silence. Her eyes were locked in a clearing in front of her, and her voice was so low that she could hardly hear. "Someone." Lin Ruochen looked over her video and saw several figures wearing long black robes talking in low voices around a stone pillar. They had a red rune on their robes, which looked like a magazine of some kind of culprit. One of them was holding a black magic stone in his hand, and there was a whisper in his mouth. The air around the stone pillar began to twist, as if a certain channel was about to open. "It's the Shadow Cult." Ellie's voice was chilling. "They are calling something that can't make them successful. What should I do? Just rush over?" Carlo's low voice was heard, and he could no longer hold back. "No, there are too many people, we have to steal." Ellie quickly formulated a plan. "I use ice magic to snatch their movements. Carlo, you are responsible for frontal attacks and attracting attention. Lin Ruochen, you summon fire feathers and attack from the side. Remember, don't let them complete the ritual." Lin Ruochen pointed his head and felt so nervous. He took a deep breath, flipped through the book, and recited the mantra in a low voice. As the book page lit up golden light, magic appeared again on the ground. The huge figure of the fire feathers rose slowly, the feathers burned with raging flames, and a sharp scream came out. "Run!" Ellie shouted softly, and her staff suddenly slapped. A cold air instantly rolled into the swamp. The ground quickly frost-led, and the mud under the feet of the black-robed men directly turned into ice, limiting their movements. Carlo yelled, lifted his stone axe and slammed it onto the nearest man in black. The other party was beaten and flew without reacting, and fell to the ground and screamed. Under Lin Ruochen's guidance, the fire feathers swept towards another group of black-robed men from the side. The flame feathers swept over and instantly ignited their long robes, and the scene was in chaos. Lin Ruochen looked at this scene and felt both excited and scared. For the first time, he felt that he could really help. But at this moment, the man in black robe holding a black magic stone suddenly turned over and his eyes were locked on Lin Ruochen. He grinned, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth, and his voice was as if it was coming from the ground. "See, master? It turns out that it was you. We have been looking for you for a long time." Lin Ruochen slighted in his heart, and he always felt that this guy's eyes seemed to know him. He subconsciously took a step back, and the book in his hand almost fell to the ground. At the same time, the man in black suddenly lifted up the magic stone and recited a series of strange spells in his mouth. The air around the stone pillar was twisted even more violently. A black fog rolled out, and he could probably hear some low roar, as if something terrifying was about to break out of the ground. "No, they are summoning the demon shadow bamboo." Ellie's face changed, and the blue light on her staff was bright, trying to seal the mist with ice magic. But the man in black just sneered and swung his hand, and the mist directly swallowed her magic, which was so fast that it caught people off guard. "Lin Ruochen, let the fire feathers break the stone pillar," Ellie shouted, with a hint of anxiety in her voice. Lin Ruochen bit his teeth and shouted to Hui Yufeng, "Go, smash that pillar." Hui Yufeng let out a long sound, flapping its wings, and slamming the stone pillar with flames. "It's too late." Ellie gritted her teeth and said to Lin Ruochen and Carlo, "Be ready to retreat, we can't deal with this now." But just as they were about to retreat, the man in black robes suddenly burst into laughter, and his voice was as sharp as a knife to scrape glass. "Want to run? It's too late. This kid belongs to us." As the voice fell, more black-robed men suddenly appeared around the swamp, surrounding their group. Lin Ruochen looked at this scene and his heartbeat was so fast that it was about to explode. There was only one thought in his brain: it's really a big deal. Lin Ruochen's heartbeat was like a drum beat, and it almost jumped out of his chest. The black-robed men around the swampland gathered more and more. Their long robes seemed to be hidden in the mist, and the red runes seemed to be shining, with a strange breath. The man in black robe holding a black magic stone stood beside the stone pillar, grinning, his eyes as if a poisonous snake was staring at a pet, locked on Lin Ruochen, making him look fur. "Lin Ruochen, back." Ellie's voice was low and rapid. As soon as she slapped her staff, an ice wall suddenly rose in front of them, trying to capture the black-robed man's visual line. But the ice wall was just formed and was swelled by a black fog, making a crack sound, and it turned into a pile of ice slag in a few seconds. Ellie bit her teeth tightly and her face turned pale, which obviously consumed a lot of her strength. Carlo yelled, lifted up the stone axe and protected Lin Ruochen, and his gray-black hair was particularly eye-catching in the mist. "These guys are so many, and they can't fight hard. We have to find a chance to break out." Lin Ruochen pointed his head, holding the red cover book in his hand, and his palm was covered with cold sweat. He knew that he was the key to the battle, but his brain was in a mess and he had no idea what to do. The fire feather was still circling in the air, and the flames on the feathers illuminated the surrounding fog, but when faced with the increasingly heavy black fog, it also seemed a little uneasy and made a low sound, as if warning something. "Don't slap, call the sir." The man in black robe opened his mouth, his voice rubbing like sandpaper, with a creepy smile. "Your book is the key to our Lord's resurrection, hand it over, or we can hold it alone." Resurrection? Lord? Lin Ruochen's heart sank, and he guessed that the Lord they mentioned was the demon god Ellie mentioned. He looked down at the book in his hand, and the runes on the cover were illuminated in the mist, as if they had come alive. He suddenly realized that this book might not be just a tool to summon the spirit, but something more dangerous. "Don't listen to their silence." Ellie turned suddenly, and the decisive light flashed in her blue eyes. "Lin Ruochen, listen to me, summon the fire feathers to attack the stone pillar with all their strength. As long as we destroy their styling, we will have a chance to escape." Lin Ruochen gritted his teeth. Although he was so panicked, he still pointed. He flipped through the book and recited the mantra in a low voice. A dazzling golden light lit up on the book page. The fire-feathered beetle emitted a sharp long beetle, and its wings flapping, rushing straight towards the stone pillar with its raging flames. The man in black robes saw the situation and tried to take action. The black fog turned into a piece of touching hands, trying to cut off the fire feathers, but when the touching hands touched the flame, they instantly burned and turned into ashes. Room! The fire-feathered geek hit the stone pillar hard, making a loud noise, and more gaps broke open on the surface of the stone pillar, and even began to shake. The black fog seemed to have been weakened a little, and the giant claws that were almost exposed also shrank back. But this blow also angered the man in black. The guy in the head roared angrily, and the black magic stone in his hand burst out with a strong wave. The black fog poured out again, and this time it directly turned into a huge magic shadow beast, which was larger than the fire feather. It was covered in black and had a double-eyed agarwood, and it roared and swept over. "Be careful!" Carlo shouted, and the stone axe slashed at the demon shadow bamboo, but the axe seemed to have chopped into cotton, and it was useless. Instead, it was shocked by a huge force and took a few steps back and almost fell down. Ellie quickly slammed the staff, and an ice spear pierced the eyes of the demon shadow bamboo, but the monster just shook its head, and the ice spear broke into pieces, leaving no traces left. Lin Ruochen looked at this scene and his brain buzzed. He knew that if they fought hard, they would not have the chance to escape, but they were all men in black robes, and there was no way to go. He clenched his teeth and suddenly flashed a crazy idea in his brain, since this book was something they wanted, or maybe they could use it to delay time. "Hey, don't you want this book?" Lin Ruochen put up the Book of Calling, deliberately amplified the sound, and tried to attract the other party's attention. "Come on. But I warn you that this thing is not fun, maybe you will be done first." The leader in the black robe sneered, his eyes filled with greed. "Boy, don't play with flowers, hand over the book, I can make you die happily." "Good it off," Lin Ruochen replied, taking advantage of the other party's distracting, and suddenly ordered Hui Yufeng, "Burn the magic stone in that guy's hand." Hui Yufeng was reluctant, and a pillar of fire flapped his wings and directly slammed the leader of the black robe. The other party did not expect this move and hurriedly protected himself with a black fog, but the magic stone was still rubbed by the flames, and a crack appeared on the surface, and a harsh sharp fog sounded. "Bastard!" The man in black roared, his face twisted, and it seemed that the philosopher's stone was very important to them. With a slap of his hand, more men in black robes rushed towards Lin Ruochen, as if they were desperate. Carlo and Ellie fought as hard as they could, but there were too many people on the other side, and soon they were forced together, back to back, panting. "Lin Ruochen, are there any other summoning beasts?" Ellie gritted her teeth, and the blue light on the staff had dimmed a lot. "If we don't fight back, we can't hold it anymore." Lin Ruochen's brain moved quickly, flipped open the book, and swept over the blank book page with his fingers tremblingly. He remembered that when he first summoned the fire feather, there was only one mantra in the book, and the back was blank, but in the current situation, the fire feather was not enough at all. He gritted his teeth and tried to recall the feeling of the first call. He chanted a similar mantra in his mouth, "In my name, your power, the spirit of contract, now in this world." As the voice fell, a dark green light suddenly appeared on the book page, and a brand new magical aura appeared on the ground. A huge stone roar rose from the middle, with ancient runes engraved on the shell, and the limbs were thick like stone pillars, making a low roar. Lin Ruochen was stunned by the fact that he could really summon new things. "This is a rock fog?" Alice's voice was shocked. "This kind of spirit beast has been absolutely dead, why are you?" "Don't ask, use it to hold it first." Lin Ruochen blocked her and shouted to the ground rock ghost, "Press those black-robed men." The ground ghost moved slowly. Although the speed was not fast, every step caused the ground to shake. The runes on its shell lit up, forming a yellow barrier, which forced the black-robed men to attack, and even knocked several people directly. But this just relieved the pressure at a moment. The demon shadow beast roared and slapped at the ground rock, slapped its claws hard on its shell, and emitted a huge bang. Although it could not break the defense, the ground rock was still shocked and took a few steps back, which obviously didn't last long. "We have to take advantage of the situation." Carlo gasped, with a blood mark on his shoulder. If you drag it down, these reinforcements will come, and we can't run away. Ellie pointed her head and quickly took out a blue magic stone from her long robe, bit her finger, dripped a drop of blood on it, and recited a string of spells in her mouth. The philosopher's stone burst out with a dazzling blue light, forming a small delivery room. This is a temporary delivery, you can only send us to the edge of the swamp, hurry up. Lin Ruochen and Carlo were not hesitant and quickly jumped into the delivery room. After the fire feathers and earth rock gangsters remained behind, they tried to delay time. As soon as the blue light flashed, the three of them disappeared into the depths of the swamp, and they could only hear the roar of the man in black robe and the roar of the demon shadow beast behind them. When they opened their eyes again, they had already appeared in a clearing area around the swamp, surrounded by sparse trees, and the smell of soil still remained in the air. Lin Ruochen sat on the ground, gasping for breath, and said with thrust, "It was just that scene. I thought I was going to hang up." Carlo hummed and wiped the blood from the stone axe. "Those men in black will never be good at ease. They know that your book is the key, and they will definitely be able to chase you in the world next." Ellie was silent for a while, her face still turned pale. She said in a low voice, "They said it right. That book is indeed one of the keys to unlocking the seal of the demon god. Lin Ruochen, always tell me, where did you come from? Why is there such a power?" Lin Ruochen felt nervous and knew that this was too damn. He hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, I'm not from this world. I don't know why I came here. I woke up in the forest, and then I had this book. I just wanted to go home, but now it seems that things are not that simple." Ellie's eyes became complicated, as if they were both shocked and understood. She was silent for a while before saying, "The outsiders are indeed the case. Your call-up wave is completely different from the magical system of Elsace's mainland. The Shadow Clan will stare at you. They probably think you are the last piece of puppet that broke the seal. Then what should I do?" Lin Ruochen smiled bitterly and started, "I don't even know why I am. I am still being chased and killed by a group of crazy people. I have never passed this day." Carlo patted his shoulder and grinned, "Don't worry, brother. Since you can't escape, then fight them." Ellie stood up and looked away with a steady look. "We can't sit and wait. Although the Shadow Church's ceremonies were cut off, they won't let go. Lin Ruochen, your book is the key. We must find a safe place to find out its real purpose, and prevent them from resurrecting the demon god." "A safe place?" Lin Ruochen browed. "Where's there any other place to be safe? They are so crowded, so we only have 3 people. How can we fight with them?" Ellie turned over her head, and a shimmer flashed in her blue eyes. "Blue Tower. I didn't want to go back, but now there is no choice. The tower has the strongest magicians and the oldest classics on the mainland, or maybe I can find a way to crack the seal." "Blue Tower." Lin Ruochen muttered, and his heart was filled with scent. He knew this trip would definitely not be easy, but he also understood that he had no way out. "I guess I have to put it on my side first when I go home. The most important thing to worry about now was to live and protect these 2 companions who accompany him through life and death." At this moment, a rustling sound came from the forest far away, and the 3 of them instantly became alert. Carlo held the tight stone axe and said in a low voice, "Come again? These guys are really invincible." But the person who walked out of the forest was not a man in a black robe, but a figure wearing a black cloak, wearing a half-mask on his face, and a light smile on the corner of his exposed mouth. He clapped his hands, his words relaxed as if he was chatting. How many places? The fight was very hot just now, and it was almost a good match." "Yi Jin?" Ellie raised her eyebrows and raised her staff slightly, which seemed to be filled with the sudden appearance of this guy. Lin Ruochen also recognized this person, Yi Jin, a mysterious businessman he met by chance on the road before. At that time, the guy sold them some rare props and also revealed some news about the Shadow Cult. Although it helped, it always gave people a sense of being unreliable. "Don't be nervous, Miss Magician." Yi Jin opened his hand, and a pair of cunning eyes appeared under his cloak. "I'm here to help. You just had too much silence. The shadow cultivator has sent someone to block this area. If you want to go to the Blue Tower, you can't do it without my information. How did you know we were going to the Blue Tower? Ellie's voice was as cold as ice, and she obviously didn't trust this guy. Yi Jin heard the voice and his voice was still floating. My ears are very spiritual. Besides, where can you go besides the Blue Tower? But I have to remind you that the pursuers of the Shadow Clan are 10 miles away, and they will arrive in at most half an hour. If you don't want to be wrapped up, you'd better hear me and go on the road. Lin Ruochen looked at Yi Jin's expression of beating and felt muttering in his heart. Every time this guy appears, he seems to have calculated the time, and he always thinks he knows more than he says. But now the situation is urgent, and they have no choice but to listen to him first. Okay, tell me your plan. Ellie finally lowered her staff, but her eyes remained alert. Yi Jin grinned, took out a map from his cloak, pointed to a small path above and said, "This road leads to the Grey Island Valley in the north. Although it is a little bit lurking, it can avoid the main force of the Shadow Cult. You have to be quick, otherwise you will be blocked by them, but no one can save you." Carlo snorted, obviously not liking to be driven away by this guy, but he still pointed, "Okay, I believe you once. If you dare to play tricks, I will chop you the first time." Yi Jin laughed, as if he didn't take Carlo's threat seriously at all. "Don't worry, I'm the most trustworthy person. Oh, by the way, the collar boy, that book has been taken. Don't let it go, we'll all be done." Lin Ruochen felt nervous and looked down at the book in his hand, without saying anything, just silently stuffed it into it. He knew that this book had become his lifeblood and their biggest trouble. Under Yi Jin's guidance, the three of them quickly set out towards the Grey Fog Valley. The sky gradually darkened, and there were roars in the forest far away, like a demon or a silence of a pursuer. Lin Ruochen walked in the middle of the team, his feet were heavy, and his heart was in a mess. He didn't know what was waiting for them, nor did he know if he could withstand all this. But looking at Ellie and Carlo around him, he suddenly felt that no matter how difficult it was, at least he was not the same person. The entrance to the Grey Fog Valley was already in sight, and the fog covered the mouth of the Fog Valley, like a big mouth, waiting for them to step into the unknown deep penis. Yi Jin walked in front, his cloak seemed to be hidden in the mist, and occasionally turned around, with an unknown smile on the corner of his mouth. Lin Ruochen took a deep breath, held the book tightly, followed the team's pace, and disappeared into the smoke.